Hey, it's Ed. I hope you enjoyed my inaugural CxO Bach video. I try to keep it lighthearted and just kind of make fun of ourselves. I can relate. I've been there. I've been a longtime CIO, Cleveland Clinic, New York City Health and Hospitals, Texas Health Resources, University Hospitals. And I know what it's like, definitely on the buyer side or the receiving side. And then also in the last 5 years, I spent a lot of time on the vendor side, right? I've been the chief digital officer for Tech Mahindra Health Life Sciences, and I provided leadership over a lot of the organization, especially in my final year and a half. And then as the CEO of a consulting firm, same sort of thing, had responsibility clearly for sales and marketing and, really the entire company. So I get it. And now as a health system trustee and running my own little firm, I get it, what it's like. And so I thought I would share with you, again, in a lighthearted way, what's wrong with how we do things, and it really minimizes our impact. So what are like the 6 or 7 things that can maximize impact? And I'm happy to share these with you, of course. And so let me see here if I can, how smoothly I can share my screen and bring up my little PowerPoint here for Mark's advisory. We're going to talk about the vendor and team meeting, right? So never surprise your host. Like you saw in the vignette, the person showed up with a bunch of people, and that happens a lot. You may say, well, I never do that. And that's cool. And you're past that one, and you're probably reading ahead by now. But for many people, they still do that. I think there's this excitement, like I've got this meeting, I better maximize it. And then our up chain wants to be involved and engage. And pretty soon you've got 3, 4, 5 people, and then you want to make sure you have all the expertise. What if they ask a really deep question? I better bring, everyone. And it's just a bad way to go. Those meetings never end well. And you may have a really nice person. Like I was always that nice person, and I wouldn't tell you, why are all these people here or anything like that. But I would make a mental note, and I would probably never meet with you again. So that's often the case. So never surprise your host, and less is more with people, because you're trying to establish rapport. And it's hard to establish rapport if you've got 10 competing voices, even 5. You think 10's facetious, but it really isn't. I've had that multiple times. But let's just say it's 4 or 5. Everyone's going to introduce themselves, which is going to take about 2 to 3 minutes per person. And then everyone is going to feel compelled to say something, right? Because they know their boss is in the room watching them, and they've got something to prove and something to say. What if they made that trip, a 1,000-mile trip, and didn't say anything, right? That's not going to happen to anyone. So everyone's going to be fighting to say something, right? So you'll never really hear from the CxO, because they'll clam up, and because you'll be doing all the talking. So less is more. And it's more impressive too. I always was impressed if one person could come and talk to me and know enough about the company, plus it's going to be probably a strategic discussion anyway with a CxO. So it's not like you need to know the deep details and the bowels of your organization. So keep it really small. Initial meetings light anyways. If you get really heavy on me, that's another thing. And again, I'm a nice person, and a lot of my peers were as well, or are, and they'll listen to you and nod their head and stuff, but I'm telling you, they're checked out, and they're checked out of your company. So keep it really light. Don't feel bad about that, and let them dictate the pace, right? So if they start digging for a little bit more, you match them, but don't go ahead of them. And that happens all the time. Focus on the relationship and the connects. So that's what I always would do, is try to connect with people and form a relationship, because we all know people want to do business with people they enjoy, that they like to be around. It's a very natural human nature type of thing. So be that way, be personable, try to relate to people. Don't try to one-up them or super impress them. Just listen to them. Saying this all sounds so simple, but you'd be surprised. And even these are some of the best, most highly trained sales individuals in the country, and still sort of struggle with this. And when I say read the room literally, I really mean that. And that's a good way to connect with people, because whatever's important to them, if you're meeting in their office, and of course, if you're not meeting in your office, you would have done this research ahead of time, but you're going to connect somewhere. Like I remember one time someone had a picture of them finishing a triathlon. They had a bicycle on the bib and numbers, and you can kind of tell they have some sort of multi-sport race. So I asked him about it. I know a little bit about triathlon, but at the same time, I didn't show that I knew more than them and made them feel bad. I just sort of matched where they were and talked the game, and they were so proud. They'd only done one, but I remember them beaming with pride. Another one was from a University of Michigan, and I was looking around for something else to connect. I didn't have anything, so I went there. I know one person. Well, he happened to train in medical school with this one person, and we did a selfie together. I'll never forget that day. Literally, as I'm leaving his office, he's like, "Let's do a selfie and send it to Liz," and we did. And we did business. And so it was great. So really read the room and find out what they enjoy. And again, you've done this research ahead of time, so you can be somewhat knowledgeable on the topic. So leave something of value would be my last point. And here, I'm not talking about something physical. In fact, that's a complete turnoff to me. And I think to most of my CxOs, it's a turnoff. It can get really sketchy really fast. So don't even do it. I remember one vendor came in and like gave me a laptop. It's like, I didn't want the laptop. I couldn't take the laptop. You know, it just made no sense. And they thought they were doing this great thing and actually wasting a bunch of money. So when I say leave something of value, what was really valuable one time is the vendor came in and we were talking about mobile and engagement, consumer engagement. And he said, "Would you like to meet the CIO of Starbucks? You know, they got a pretty, I would always talk about their app." And I said, "Yes, I would." And so that got me a connect. And guess what? Whenever that vendor called me, I'm like always picking up the phone, talking to them and doing business with them ultimately. So find something that you could give. It might be a book reference, like, "Hey, I know that you're really into cybersecurity, and there's this new book on cybersecurity, and I really learned these 3 things out of it." You know, it could be something like that, or a connection to a peer. Were powerful. So I'd always think about, well, I read about, you know, the CIO of New York Presbyterian, and I'd like to reach him, but, you know, I'm not sure how, I'm not really connected with them. But this person, because they do business there, is connected and offers to connect me. So those things are valuable. Those are way more valuable than giving me something, especially something I can't take. And then I'll think sort of sketchy of you. If you try to give me something, it backfires. So be really, really careful, intentional about it. But again, just keep things light, keep things relational, just connect. Again, you're going to find 10% that are different and they want to go deep, and you'll be prepared for that. You don't have to have an army of people to do that, and you can still connect with them. So that's what my advice is. And again, I can relate to all of this given my background. If I can be of any service to you, if I can help you in any way, this is what I do. I've helped a dozen companies already in terms of how do they have a better experience in the marketplace? How do they connect better with the CxOs? How do they even connect with CxOs? So I help them in all sorts of ways. If you found this helpful, then please go to my website. It's Marks Advisory. That's one word. My last name, Marks, M-A-R-X, the word advisory.com. And there you'll find a little bit more about my services, as well as an application if you want to possibly explore serving together. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed episode 1 and this follow on. And episode 2 will drop in another week. So take care. And again, thank you for watching and listening.